So I'm extremely disappointed in him personally.
Why are you disappointed, Henry?
Well, he bombed a country that haven't done anything to us, and
Let me out, Lee.
like he's the sheriff of the world. You know what I mean? Bombed Syria on a fake false flag chemical attack, and everybody knows that Assad, that would be the last thing Assad would do when he's winning the war. The last thing he would do would be to use chemical weapons. And had he used chemical weapons, he could have sure as hell killed a lot more people in, 76?
So who committed the crime in Syria then?
We don't know. There hadn't been an investigation. That's the whole point. Trump bombed the place without an investigation. He just assumed that Bashar al-Assad gassed his own people. Why would he do that? What's the motive? What would be the motive? What would he gain by doing that? Nothing. He would just bring down the world around his ears, which is what happened. And
do you believe that Syria is a hotbed for terrorism?
Yeah, mostly because we're sponsoring them, trying to get rid of an elected president in Syria.
So you think the motive was to get rid of Assad all along?
Oh yeah, I think the CIA paid protesters originally when they originally started protesting. I think the CIA was in there with their GMOs and with their GMOs stirring up trouble. See, they need to get rid of Saddam. They need to get rid of. They need to get rid of Bashar al-Assad for several reasons. They've got oil. They dumped the U.S. dollar. They're anti-Israel. And they're really standing in the way of Israel's Greater Israel project. And so they need to get rid of him. They need that land.
Who's they? Who needs the land? I'm
Israel.
Confused now.
Jews. Jews. God allegedly gave that land to Jews all the way from the Nile to the Euphrates. Not just Israel proper as we know it today.
Right.
But biblically, they claim that God gave them that land all the way from the Euphrates River to the Nile River. And they call it the Greater Israel Project. And they're steadily working on it every day.
So you believe that Trump is in on a conspiracy with Israel to retake the Syrian land and give it back to Jews in Israel? No conspiracy. It's right out on the table. It's right out in the open. Trump is backs the Jews all the way. Well, I realize he's very much of an advocate and an ally of Israel and the Jewish people. I believe he has one in his family. Right. I don't know if he would go to the extreme of 59 missiles, tomahawks were shot over in Syria. It's pretty extreme, but if you're saying that the motive was to unseat Assad as president and take the land, isn't there a terrorist-sponsored civil war going on in Syria right now? If I'm not mistaken. Why do the United States? Why do they want to take in refugees from Syria, Muslim? Why is that become a big issue during the election and now? Who are they fleeing? And why?
They're fleeing war.
They're fleeing war. So who's the other side of the conflict?
Arab terrorists, Arab fundamentalists, and they're funded by Saudi Arabia, the United States, the CIA.
You're right.
Britain.
There are times when
they're enemies of Israel. That's true.
Right.
But Assad is a greater enemy to Israel because he is controlling. He's the president of the country, and sometimes the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You follow me? What do you think? What do you think's going on?
I think there's just another huge mess in the Middle East that needs to be cleaned up one way or another. There's too many. Point you made is there's too many people running around with weapons in a country that I don't know, and they're killing people left and right, and I'm hearing that Muslim interest, Islamic interest are persecuting Christians. Christians are fleeing the country. Then I hear that Muslims are fleeing the country as well. It sounds like a very confusing situation. The Middle East has been a confusing situation since I've been born, since 1960, probably before then.
Well, I agree, but that Islam is a religion, and like
right.
Christianity and Judaism, there are lots of different facets to that religion, lots of different denominations. Let's say there's the fanatics, then there's the moderates, and then there's the ones that believe half the time and don't believe the rest of the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So all Muslims are not the same.
I agree with you. I taught at an international university, and I had a group of Moroccans that were in one of my courses, and most of them were Islamic. And they were trying to explain Mecca to me and how important that is to them in their religion. And they seemed like peaceful enough people, non-fanatical, more interested in commerce, world commerce, than they were. Most of them were from wealthy families and were being set up groomed to do business in the United States and in Morocco and Spain, of all places. But they have Moroccans have a big interest in Spain. And so
the average religious person is not a fanatic.
Right.
It's the ones on the fringe that are cutting off people's heads and that type of stuff.
They seem to get the most press, though, don't they?
Well, absolutely. That's what the press is there for, sensationalism. You know that.
Right. And, I believe that has to stop at all costs. I think that if we have to throw Tomahawk missiles or Moabs in Afghanistan to stop the fanatical fringe, then that's what has to be done. I think the world needs to be made a safer, peaceful place for everyone, not just the United States, not just for Israel, not just for Syrians, not just for Islamics.
You can't spread peace with a pistol. You have to get out. We have to get out of the Middle East and leave those people alone. That's what's creating. ISIS was created after we invaded Iraq for no reason at all, none. We created.
I honestly have to disagree with that, sir. We proved in Japan in 1945 that you most certainly can spread peace with an atomic bomb, and that was the only thing that stopped the Japanese in World War II. And there are some religions, some cultures, and some ethnicities that don't understand peace unless it's shown to them through force. And the Japanese are an extremely fantastic example.
You're talking about occupation. Certainly.
No, I'm talking about that we had to stop them, and the only way we could was through atomic weaponry.
They were stopped. Japan is an island. Their Navy was destroyed. The Air Force was destroyed. There was nothing they could do. They was prostrate. They were stopped. Japan was making overtures for peace weeks before we dropped the atomic bomb. I've heard from some sources the reason we dropped the atomic bomb on Japan was simply to impress upon Russia not to try to grab territory because we had the most powerful weapons, which had nothing to do with those innocent Japanese that were bombed, they were incinerated over there.
I don't know, all my life.
People all over the world that's got a brain know that the United States is the tyrant of the world. We're warmongers. We have been at war since 1776. We've been at war every year since the founding of this nation, except for 17 years. We had 17 years of peace. All the other years, we've been at war. And intelligent people all over the world know that.
I don't know. I feel like all the wars, the war in 1776 was extremely justified. The war in 1812 was extremely justified. The entry of America into World War I and World War II were justified. I'm a little dicey on the Korean War. I don't really know the history of that.
Intelligent
and the Vietnam
people
War.
can disagree. Intelligent people can disagree.
Yeah. I mean, the fact is that people look to the United States because of their might and their power and their weaponry and their military might for existence when they're being bullied by other countries and other
Let me ask you this. You know, the Soviet Union is long gone. It's been gone, for years.
Right, exactly. Since the early 90s. That's correct.
We've got over there now. They've got a Russian Federation, which they have. People vote, and they have. It's kind of like the United States. They have the states are united in the United States, and the states are federated in the Russian Federation. So it's kind of like the same, and they're a superpower also. What do you think would happen? First of all, you are aware that we have Russia surrounded with NATO bases. You're aware of that, right?
Yeah, I'm very aware of that, and they're not very happy.
What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen if Russia surrounded the United States?
Well, they tried it once in Cuba. It didn't work out very well with them.
Well,
for them.
I'm sure they feel the same way. When we're on their doorstep with nuclear missiles, I'm sure they feel the same way.
Right. And it didn't work out for them before, and I don't think it'll ever work out for them. And, of course, they have long range.
For them? What do you mean for them? They're not the aggressors in the world. They don't have military bases all over in Canada and Mexico, and Cuba.
I don't know. I mean, you tell that to some of the blind students from Bosnia that came into my class, or the boy that's family was from the former Republic of Georgia that heard his neighborhood was being bombed by Russian interests.
Anecdotes.
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 Huh?
Anecdotes. They don't stop the fact that. Yeah, anybody can come up with anecdotes, but they don't stop the fact that our bases have Russia surrounded.
Well, they should. They need to be contained. I think a country that large with the kind of super military they have needs to be contained. At least they unleash themselves on Europe.
And what about the United States? They don't need to be contained. They should police the world.
No, I believe it's a Christian nation that does things for the best for the rest of the world. I honestly do. I mean, it's run by a Christian man now. We've gotten rid of the Muslim traitor. And we've got a God-fearing Christian man that's trying to do the best he can for the rest of the globe. And sometimes a lot of people they're hard heads. And just like the neighborhood hard head that needs to be beat up, the neighborhood bully that needs to be smacked around a little bit by the guys a little bit bigger. There's those kind of people all over the world. They need to be smacked around by the guys just a little bit bigger, or in order to get them to negotiate peacefully. And Donald Trump has opened the doors to this nut in North Korea. He said, I'd like to do it diplomatically, but I doubt he's going to do that.
You sound like a nut.
Who, me?
You.
Well, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
You sound like a nut. I'm glad you don't have your finger on the nuclear button. I'll tell you for sure.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of Donald Trump, and he does.
I suppose you
think he's got to use it. He's got to use it.
I suppose you think it's okay that Israel kills little children for sport.
I hear this about everybody. I hear this about the Palestinians. I hear this about the Islamics. I hear about atrocious things about all these countries in the Middle East. What are you going to say? is it propaganda? Have I ever witnessed it? No, I don't know that. I don't think the Jewish people kill children for sport.
But you do think Assad killed his own people.
I know that there was.
You didn't witness it, but you still think he did it, right?
I think there was a chemical attack of some sort, and the United States responded. Who's responsible ultimately for it?
Well, tell me this.
I couldn't tell you like that.
What about motive? Why would he do that? You think he's an idiot?
I don't know why. The people in the Middle East defy my intelligence for what the reasons why they do things that they do.
Yeah, they're different. They're different. They're idiots.
I think that most of them are. I really do. I think they're crazy. I think most of them are nuts.
Well,
I think most of them are religious nuts.
That's just what I think about you.
I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm a Christian. I've studied the founding of the United States. The United States was given to man by God, and is why it's the greatest nation on earth. And if you think that's crazy, God bless you. If you don't believe in God, and don't believe it's God's country, Christian-centered country.
This nation was founded. It was founded by a bunch of rich, liberal, slave-holding rebels, terrorists.
I just simply don't believe that. I believe it was founded.
Every one of them. I've done the research. Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, all of them. They were born rich. They were raised in the lap of luxury. They owned slaves, and they talk about this stuff. All men are created equal. All men are created equal. My ass, ain't nobody created equal. If God created all men equal, why do we need laws to make them so?
There's some things that people just can't answer about the world and what God's motive or plans for. But I do know that, like, my family background goes all the way to the Dews, who came here to colonize the Tidewater area, Virginia, North Carolina, for tobacco farming and make money. And yeah, they were wealthy. Thomas Dew was a wealthy man. But that's the nature of a capitalistic society, my friend.
So you're a descendant of Jew? You're a Jew?
No. Oh, no, absolutely not. I'm a Christian.
I thought you said...
Dew, Thomas Dew, D-E-W,
okay.
is in my bloodline. And his family came here to colonize America for profit, for tobacco profit. And America became a capitalistic society, and that's what you get with a capitalistic society. Capitalistic societies are run on money in the capitalistic system. And I don't think there's a better system on earth myself. I haven't seen one. No country has greater wealth and health care and everything that we've got. I think we're the greatest country on earth.
I prefer a capitalistic society myself. But you can't have pure capitalism. There's no such thing as pure capitalism, because there's a socialist inside of everybody. I mean, most women are socialists to begin with, and the synthesis, how do you say that word, between capitalism and socialism, if it's done properly, everything works out well.